Imagine a world where your smartphone has no camera bump, but takes photos with detail of a high-end microscope. We're looking at a massive breakthrough in lensless imaging that basically replaces expensive glasses, lenses with pure mathematical code. If you think your current camera is sharp, you haven't seen what happens when we stop using lenses entirely. A new system called Masi, Multiscale Aperture Synthesis Imager, has just been detailed in Nature Communications. It uses an array of tiny, cheap sensors and massive computing power to stitch together a giant virtual lens, capturing submicron details from a distance. Essentially, it's taking the same tech we use to take a picture of a black hole and shrinking it down to fit on a circuit board. What's going on here, John?
Yeah, so let's kind of talk about this limit that they've overcome. So for over a century, optical imaging, it's been constrained by the diffraction limit. And that's a physical rule that prevents lenses from resolving features smaller than roughly half the wavelength of light. So in traditional systems, light waves passing through lenses interfere, and the resulting pattern, which is like an airy disk, spreads out detail, and it limits resolution. Overcoming this limit usually required bulky lenses, near-field techniques, or even complex adaptive optics. And so this new sensor, it seeks to bypass these constraints altogether by shifting the challenge from hardware to computational reconstruction. So the breakthrough itself was developed by Professor Guan Zhang's lab, and it uses a multi-sensor setup that doesn't depend on conventional optics. So instead of a single lens focusing light into its sensor, multiple sensors capture overlapping wave fields from slightly different perspectives. Then these raw wave fields contain information about how light interferes at very small scales. The advanced software algorithms then combine and reconstruct these multiple captures into a single high-resolution image with details finer than the world would normally be possible. This is related to concepts like synthetic apertures and computational imaging, but applied here to visible and near visible light. So right now, our cameras on our phones, they kind of do this. There's different cameras. We've got 3 or 4, sometimes 5, 6 different cameras on the back of our phones, all for different use cases. Some are wide lens, some are short, whatever. Some are higher megapixels, some are lower megapixels, some are more sensitive to light. And so this kind of makes sense to me that this could be an option based on what's currently used. What are your thoughts on this, Craig?
I really love this because I think we're anytime where we break traditional technology and do something different and we make a leap forward is exciting. Now, how much power this will take versus traditional, and there'll probably be some purists out there that say, well, if it's not taken with an actual lens, it's not really a picture, it's a computer generated image. People will tell you that there's no actual, or at least we haven't from NASA, any actual pictures of the Earth. They're all stitched together images. Now, since we've had astronauts out there with digital cameras, but again, what is that? Yeah. Digital camera, an image, a true image, or is it, whatever? Anyway, we can argue till the cows come home, but I like this technology, and I like to think of it as a fly's eye. Instead of being a one big human eye with a single lens, he uses dozens of mini eyes scattered around individually. They see a blurry mess, but individually they see a blurry mess, but powerful computer chips combine those messy views into ultra sharp, high resolution images. There was a series a while ago, something about the wisdom of the crowd or whatever, where the computer took everybody's images and photos and videos from the phone and was able to map together an accurate video of what was going on in the thing. And that was kind of the hook to the phone. Yeah, it was a cool thought. It didn't last very long. And that kind of reminds me of this, is that, they're putting together all these images away. And it also reminds me of, I'm trying to remember what it was called, but they had the long tube-like cameras for a while. They were very expensive, but you decided to focus after. They took the image of the thing. And I've heard about that. Yeah. Lycra cameras. So, and they were interesting and expensive and stuff. So this reminds me of those where you probably can choose now the focus of the image after, because the cameras are, so you don't have to do the same. We're getting such a high resolution image built. And then the question becomes is, how can you customize it? So traditional high res cameras, like microscopes, have to almost be touching the object they're filming, which is bulky, awkward. And Masi can see microscopic details while sitting centimeters away using sensors that are flat and cheap to make. So I don't know what that means from is this going to replace your camera that you're taking shots at events when we're talking about the sensors have to be fairly close to the target right now?
Yeah. So my concern here is this kind of makes me think of, did you hear of what happened with Samsung and their moon shots when people took pictures of the moon?
No, what happened?
So they created controversy because when you took a picture of the moon, it actually wasn't the picture you took. They used AI to enhance the picture beyond what the phone's actual optics captured.
Yeah, so very interesting. And this reminds me of, we talked a little while ago, and we're slightly off topic, but not really, where I was prompting Nano Banana, and you can prompt it longitude and latitude, and it'll give you an image of that location. And you can do a longitude, latitude, and time of day. So you can see the light at Stonehenge with all the details and whatever, if you type that in, or Times Square or whatever. And then I was fooling around saying, okay, what about dates? So I was doing, so that's cool. So why I'm bringing this around is they have very detailed information on the moon, on Stonehenge, on things that are taken images a lot of. So the AI could really enhance images when you put stuff like this in place to give you details that your camera never captured, but other cameras did. So we're just going to superimpose or put it together and make it look like this. So I guess that's what Samsung was doing, or the AI was doing. Yeah. Yeah.
But like, so then my concern is, again, conspiracy theorist here. Like, how easily would it be for them to inject what they want you to see rather than what's actually there?
Well, we're already at that point. And because we're so reliant on the information that AI gives us, and the stats are all over the place that says AI is wrong 40% of the time or higher, depending on what field. And we're just taking the stuff as facts as they come in. Now, some of us don't, and some of us do, and some of us question some things, but don't question other things. So our view of the world is being skewed, not just by the media or what we listen to or our friends, but now by AI. So now we can take it next level. We're seeing AI videos and AI images that we don't know what to believe. Now you're taking it a step further. We don't know if we can believe the images we take ourselves.
Yeah. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to put it in frame of the whole thing. So this could lead to invisible cameras. Feature phones could be perfectly flat with no camera, a bar or bump or whatnot, using sensors hidden under the screen, right? Yeah. Or even, on your glasses. You could do things like instant med checks. You could eventually use a home device that scans a skin mole or the bloodstream to get your blood sugar, glucose levels, and things you might not have thought of before. Grab a biological sample at a lab grade precision. Industrial magic, checking for tiny cracks in airplane wings or microchips becomes way faster and cheaper because the camera doesn't need to physically move to every single part. You can start taking mass pictures. So there's some very interesting things that this could lead to. And the timelines I got said we're expect to see this in high-end industrial medical tools within the next 2 to 3 years, and consumer tech to follow.
Yeah, well, there's still some challenges that they have to overcome, right? So extracting the fine detail, that actually requires, and we talked about this, some robust algorithms, precise calibration, and noise management. So real-world movement, lighting changes, or environmental conditions, that can complicate reconstruction. So there's a lot of engineering for practical applications that's going to be needed. But I think this is great. I feel like we're going to see this sooner rather than later.
And there's a deep dive over at torontostarts.com on this, where you can talk about the physical configuration of these Masi arrays, the illumination and data acquisition, and even the detailed reconstruction pipeline, how it kind of processes all of that. So the resolution testing is being tested by the U.S. Air Force, which is interesting, among other things. So I'm loving to see where this goes, because I like to see leap forwards in imaging. Yeah. Again, when we start to let something else form our reality for us, I fear for society, but I like the technology.
Yeah.
So we are moving away from a world of better glass into a world where better math creates our images. So is the cheap camera bump finally doomed, or are we decades away from laser-powered phone cameras? Let us know what you think. If you trade in battery life or microscope in your pocket, let us know. We'll keep watching the story and see where it progresses.
What do you got going on, John? This is stuff that's going out in the next week or so?
Yeah, so we've got some events at the Toronto Business Development Center. I'm doing some lunch and learns in person there. It's a great organization, great incubator. And then February, what date is the Startup Drinks, Craig?
I closed that, so I'm not sure. February 19th, I believe.
February 19th, but have a look at startupdrinks.com. startupdrinksto.com for that event and other events. If you need some help with government funding, SHRED, or any other grants, reach out to me on LinkedIn. But if you're interested in AI automation workflows, or you need help with your business, what can they do, Craig?
Well, we've got lots of stuff going on over at flowgrammer.ca, where we help businesses implement AI and business automation so they can scale faster and more reliable, get more leads, grow faster. We also have a growing community over at flowgrammers.ca, where we do Flowgrammer Cafe, we do live build events, we do demo events, we get the community together online and in person several times a month to show and demo and support anybody who's trying to do this, learn automation, end-to-end AI agent building. So check all that out. We have a series of events called Flowgrammer Cafe. The next one's February 6th, March 6th, and April 2nd. We do those right now in partnership with Workhouse, and those are full day drop-in headphones, laptop, and work. And we'll have some experts on site that can help you troubleshoot. And we all kind of do a little walkthrough in the afternoon about what you're working on, and, show us what you're working on and stuff. And it's really cool. So check all that out over at flowgrammer.ca and flowgrammers.ca. And coming soon, and you can sign up for this now, flowgramming.space. An AI agent and workflow marketplace where people can buy and sell agents or workflows. So if you're building agents and don't know what to do with them, where to sell them, go over there and check that out. Again, flowgramming.space. Or if you're building workflows, or if you want agents or workflows built, you can go over there and buy them. We have some interesting guarantees, and it's coming soon, so you can get your name on the waiting list right now. That's all we got going on, John. For everything else, go to torontostarts.com. I don't even think I mentioned it that whole time. Thanks everyone for watching. All the information about CES, and these interesting things. Any last words, John?
No. Check out our next episode. We're going to be talking about the weird stuff at CES. So,
all right, everyone. Thanks for watching.